Hi, Krishna. Welcome to this session.
Thank you, Satya. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be part of any event that I host.
Yes, and we're also very delighted to be hosting you, Krishna. You need no introduction, nor does Simply Learn. And this is a very crisp session. We call it as lightning rod kind of conversation. So, if you're ready, we could get started.
I'm already Satya. So looking forward to your
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely. So, Krishna, let me start with a question which is perhaps at the heart of your business, which is more centered around customers and product managers, product entrepreneurs, which is about this fascinating thing called the learning cone or the learning pyramid. So, I want us to start by listening to you saying, how do you think this has changed? Has it got completely dismantled, demolished, transformed? What are you seeing as an edtech entrepreneur?
So thanks, Satya, for asking this question. So first, let me tell you my perspective. See, when I look at this whole edtech journey, and edtech has become really a hot sector in the last 2 3 years. So I got into the sector long before even this word edtech was coined, so way back in 2010, right? And
Right,
what I have seen is that a lot of fundamentals have not changed. What has changed is that suddenly it has become a sector of focus. So lot more curiosity among audience that okay, let me also do something. Am I left behind by not being part of this whole story, and by not doing something? Am I missing something? So this is where we are. But when it comes to like learner preferences, what what attracts one kind of learner, what attracts another kind of learner. I think even 10 15 years back also we had learners who like to learn on their own. They just give them the book or the content, they'll figure it out on their own. And
right,
this audience always existed. It's just
right,
that this audience is a very small audience. Not everybody can be self-disciplined and learn on their own. They require some guidance, some pushing, some, like I'll say, a group or community to flow along with them, right? So that they are, while they are learning, they're also having a group of people who are learning along with them, and getting ahead in their journey. And what we see today is that there are different kinds of learning platforms appealing to different kinds of this audience. There are like pure play self-learning video platform that millions of people go and subscribe. There are platforms like Simplilearn, which is for people who want assistance, hands-on, cohort feeling, group feeling, learn in a group and then learn by doing, and so on. So there are people of our kind, and then there is
right.
a like all kind of mix wherein they want some self-learning, some guidance, and some mentoring, and so on. So all kinds of learning personas and learning ways exist. In India, in particular, we have seen that any learning platform that provides some kind of assistance, mentoring, handholding, that has got more acceptability in the market compared to a pure play self-learning video kind of platform, which is more of an Western phenomenon. And since we operate in both the markets, we have seen that very, very closely.
Brilliant. That answers lots of the core aspects, Krishna. Let me now shift to another track, which is actually the theme of the entire conference. It is centered around the unstoppable India. So the question that I wanted to ask you was, how unstoppable do you think is the Indian edtech is, especially on the global canvas?
Yeah. So Satya, again, this is a question that is very, very close to my heart. And even way back in 2010, when Simplilearn used to be blog before 2010, it was my personal blog from 2009 till sometime in 2010. And
Yes,
first
yes,
day when I put my PayPal button on my website, there was no developer. It was just a personal hobby on WordPress I used to run. I got
right.
7 payments. Five of
Wow,
those payments were from outside India. So from day one, and that's how our, at least our business has remained. It's like primarily outside India. So 40% of my business is in India, 60% business is outside India.
right,
Last few years, we have seen this whole in investment world, this theory being like established, saying that yes, this is a model that can scale, sustain, and become a really big model. So now
right,
I think we have all the ingredients in place to say that India EdTech going global is real. There are players who
brilliant,
have real revenues. There are players who have over the years proven that it's not that you are acquiring user by fluke, that okay, we launched some program and we got some users from North America or Europe, then we completed it and we're done. We have proven model, and not only Simplilearn, there are some of our other competitors have also done this really very well. We have built a sustainable growing model of acquiring customers across the globe servicing them, getting their goodwill, and resulting into repeat referral and many more such customers. So this model has got established from the business model perspective. This is a model that has also got proven from investors' point of view also. So investors are also buying into this concept and deploying capital with an expectation that this will become a really huge business. So my strong belief is that India EdTech is going to repeat this India IT services story. So if you look at IT services world, you look at
Yeah.
all kinds of cut, that the billion-dollar club or a 500 million club or a 100 million revenue club, Indian companies dominate all those clubs, right?
Right.
Being the largest to the smallest services
Absolutely.
cloud. We see a similar phenomena happening in edtech also. We'll have some of the largest edtech companies coming out of India, and the reason is pretty simple. See, if you look at education, there are some nuances to education. So there is a language barrier, there is cultural barrier, but most of these challenges are when it comes to school education. Every country wants to teach their kids in a certain way, certain value systems. But when you look
Sure.
at like generic course, science, maths, programming, those kind of skills, technology, digital skills, it's the same. You write whether you are a Java programmer in India or maybe in Sweden or in Germany or in US, you're just a Java programmer. So those are areas where India manpower and India model has an undue advantage compared to our global peers.
A quick follow through question to that, Krishna, for the sustainability aspect. How important or critical do you think is the attribute of being EBITDA positive, sustainable profits for a long term behemoth to be built out by an entrepreneur in a tech?
So Satya, I think this is not this question is not only for education, right? This is a question for all kinds of businesses,
Yeah.
and I see this being discussed quite frequently across various forum. So what I have seen, having been having seen all kinds of journey, that there was a phase where we raised a lot of money, burned a lot of money, grew also. There was a phase where we had to run our business profitably and look for the investors. So having gone through all the phases, having seen competitors who have raised a lot of capital, see the core expectation is that whatever the business has to eventually make profit.
Right.
Business has to become self-sustainable and growing business.
Right.
Now there are different entrepreneurs and different investors taking a call together that okay, for me maybe beta is not a priority at this point of time.
Sure.
Growth is a priority, and that's how they look at the business. So the right metric that I look at it, and many there are this question is being asked by a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
That how do you look at and how do you compete? So metrics that I look at it is that growth rate and EBITDA. So let's say you're losing minus 50%, but you're growing at 200%. So the effective number is 200 minus 50, 150. You are 10% profitable growing at 50%. Then your effective number is 50 plus 10, 60. So that's the way to look at it. Right? How much
Okay.
negativity is giving what kind of growth rate. And most investors also look at this metric that ideally, if your EBITDA plus or minus and growth rate put together is in the range of 50, is a great business. And most,
Brilliant.
yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant. That actually simplifies it for any entrepreneur to do a self check on a quarterly or a
yeah.
yearly basis. Moving on, Krishna, the next question to me is, in this journey of Indian EdTech becoming globally unstoppable, what two things could go wrong? Or what is it that we must guard against as entrepreneurs or as a country?
I think so. This is a great point. I think, and we have been thinking about it for some time. I think the biggest risk is regulation.
Hmm.
If let's say some country put a regulation that okay, if you run anything related to education, it has
Mhm.
to be locally built, locally delivered, and
Okay.
should be a local company. So obviously regulation kills many businesses. So that
Yeah.
one thing that can potentially
Interesting.
kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, in terms of business model, with the need for a product, whether the model works or doesn't work, I frankly don't see a lot of doubt on the model. Of course, companies are spending a lot of money on acquiring customers, but
Hmm.
if you look at the ratio that I mentioned, growth rate plus EBITDA, I think companies are like some of these companies are in the range of close to 100, which is
Right.
such a good place to be in, right, at that scale. So I'm not
Right.
that frankly that much concerned about anything other than regulation and some perception getting built that okay, maybe these guys are not focused on education, these guys are focused on just growing and profit making, and they don't care about the student. So I think we need to be guard against those, because education is in general is a very sensitive issue. It's not
Sure.
like selling
Yes.
goods that you
Yes.
can just sell it in dozens, right? It has to be
Right.
like you have to keep the balance.
Yeah. And do you see some consolidations happening in the next 3 to 5 years, Krishna, such as, let's say, large IT services companies suddenly thinking that the skilling and capacity building is a could be a massive vertical that they could have in house. Do you see that happening?
So Satya, that's already happening. In fact, one of the large conglomerates in India, they have earmarked $1 billion to launch their edtech vertical.
Right,
Very large conglomerate. They've already launched it. Most of the IT services companies, they have a huge investment in training and education as a space. So they have been looking at all kinds of ways to monetize that asset. But having
right,
said it's very difficult. That I'll tell you why it is difficult. See, if you are a large business and tech and education is one of your vertical, that's one scenario. Another scenario is that you are a new age tech startup with a good brand name in the market. Both of them are in the market to recruit talent. Most
right,
likely, the talent will work for the fully focused edtech startup, which has very good brand name, right?
right,
People and eventually all tech businesses are people business.
right.
It's not a machinery and it's not an investment. The
Yeah,
investment is the kind of tech that you attract. So
yeah,
just because of that, I don't think. Of course, they have their own captive audience. They can get to certain scale, but that can they really become huge, large global businesses? I don't think so. That's why if you look at global tech, global conglomerates or global businesses, they go the approach that okay, let me invest rather than
right,
try to build from ground up. I think
right,
our Indian IT services in particular has this mindset that we can do anything and everything under the sun.
right. Okay. One last question, Krishna. This is more to you, the entrepreneur. So, what is it that keeps you awake or robs you of those couple of additional extra hours of sleep at this stage, having built it out into a very successful enterprise till now, right from scratch, but looking at the massive opportunity that you see for the next decade or two?
So Satya, just one thing, and I'll say that this has been consistent for many years. It's not that in the current market this has become a priority. This was always a priority, which is team. See, in today's world, there is no lack of business. There is no lack of. Frankly, I never faced the lack of business as as a challenge, lack of capital as a challenge. It was lack of like customers not being happy with their product. We never had those kind of challenges,
Right,
but we always had challenges to ensure the challenges in making sure that we hire the best, retain the best, and keep them motivated to deliver their best.
right,
In the current market, I'm seeing the kind of craziness that is going on in the market. So making sure that
mm,
your team is super focused on what you do, I think
right.
that's the only challenge that I think plays on in my mind.
Terrific. Super Krishna. Anything that you think I missed and you would like to share with those with our audiences joining here across the world, and any learning from your journey to the young entrepreneurs?
I'll talk about maybe edtech as a sector. So I think my
Sure.
only message to all the people is that I see clearly two kinds of audience when I look at social media like
Yeah.
discussions and
Yeah.
mentions. What I see
Right.
that there are like people who are already benefiting from this kind of product and offering, and there are a
Right.
lot of non-believers who try to say that oh this doesn't work, this is not useful, nothing happens. I think my message to all of them is that doesn't matter whether you buy a product from Simplilearn or not. In fact, don't buy from Simplilearn, but do something. If you don't want to buy, also it's fine. There are so many good options out there in the market that you can try and see if they really help. In fact, on Simplilearn itself, there is an offering called Skill Up. 100% of our programs are absolutely free if you can complete it on their own. So self-learning model is absolutely free. We only charge for our instructor-led model where there is an actual cost of putting an instructor and paying the instructors and so on. So don't be a non-believer. It's working. We are the first-hand beneficiary. We hire our own student, and so is my other friends from the industry. They also hire their own student. They also strongly believe in what they are doing. So encourage people to learn. Start with the YouTube, start with the free offering, but definitely do something to upskill. So that's the only way to survive in the industry today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Krishna. So that was Krishna for us, doing entrepreneurship for decades now in the area of skilling, which each one of us, regardless of the stage at which we are in our professional lives, have to do to stay relevant every 3 years. Thank you so much, Krishna,
Thanks,
and
Satya.
and delighted and glad that you accepted our invitation, and you're here. We look forward to catching up again offline. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Satya, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Have a
Yeah,
good day.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.